I ain't no dancer, just got some hip in my feet. Now throw your hands up. Ooh, you bring the lighter, I got the fuse. You make a fire, I'll add the fuel. Follow my lady, just watch your shoes. Gotta turn the heat up to get this cool. Pick that chin up off the ground and flash that smile for me. Put some pep up in that step, it's going down shortly. Got so much weight up on my shoulders, all this jewelry on me. I wear my shades inside cause I go blind just looking down. Walking like the man, sipping Chardonnay on the balcony, looking like a young Elvis Presley. I've been overseas, I've been underneath, I ain't never seen nothing like a person 12 o'clock. I don't know nobody looking like that, I don't know nobody looking like that. I don't know nobody looking like that, I don't know nobody looking like that. Baby, baby, won't you listen to me? I got that flavor, I know you're dying to feed. I ain't no dancer, just got some hip in my feet. Now throw your hands up. Ooh, you bring the lighter, I got the fuse. You make a fire, I'll add the fuel. Follow my lady, just watch your shoes. Gotta turn the heat up to get this cool. Who you know who looking like this for real? Who you know who looking like this? Who you know who looking like this for real? Who you know who looking like this? Who you know who looking like this for real? Who you know who looking like this? Who you know who looking like this for real? Who you know who looking like this?
I don't wanna waste my time just stalling. I'm just being honest, you know that I'm falling. I'm
So.
Let me set the pace just so you
Gotta turn all this stuff down. I was eating at a
Anyone
restaurant.
else having troubles getting their? Anyone else having troubles getting their? Oh, okay. I thought my subscription had ended and I had to like re-sub, and that was confusing.
No.
Never mind. It wasn't giving me an option to click on the Prime, and I'm like, did it go away? But I still have.
Oh,
14.
I was eating at a restaurant, and it wasn't. I'm not sure the quality of the restaurant. Maybe better than Ruby Tuesdays. Not as good as.
Better than Ruby Tuesdays? Come on. You just talking in hyperbole now?
I like.
What
Listen,
kind of world we living in that there's
Like, if you
anything better
said-
than Ruby Tuesdays?
If you said Applebee's versus Ruby Tuesdays, I would go to Ruby Tuesdays. Ruby Tuesday. I don't know if it's plural or not, or even just has an S. I have no idea. Hey,
I think
Gregor.
it's Ruby Tuesdays. I think it's S. I think there's an
Okay.
S. Well, now I
But
say it, I'm immediately questioning myself. But
the guy was calling me sir for some reason. I don't know why, but he kept calling me sir. And I was there with someone that I had gone to high school with, so we're the same age. And so he's referring to me as sir, sir, sir. And then at one point he starts talking to him, and he's referring to him as sport the whole time. And I don't know why. I don't know what this guy did to get on his bad side, but it still to this day remains one of my favorite moments of me being called sir and the guy I'm with being called sport for our entire dinner. It was great.
but what if
His name was Sport.
to this guy, Sir was the diss and Sport was his term of endearment? Or were
I
there
think
other like mannerisms? Was there tone that communicated that he was not happy with Sport?
This could be my own feelings being applied to the situation, but I never want to be called Sport. Now, Jedi, that's going to kind of hurt because I just called you Sport, but so I apologize for that.
I see it as the absolute most deeply cutting insult that you could possibly.
You could levy upon any other human, maybe to call them Sport.
You may as well heap you may as well heap an entire shovel full of shit on someone if
Yeah.
you're gonna call them sport. I'm with you. I'm with you. It's
no
terrible.
respect for a person you call sport. It is just
No.
like
no.
nothing. Not even like common courtesy. That's all. Was he from The Great Gatsby?
That's it.
That's something I really wish I liked more than I did.
Does
okay.
he the book or the film?
The film.
You never mind. Never mind. that was after I asked the,
What a
after
dumb
I asked the
question.
question. I realized it's a stupid question.
What an absolutely
Oh,
stupid
man.
question. Where does what logic come from? The dislike of being
The
called
sport, the sport over sir.
He calls people old sport.
We won't know for 30 seconds. No, for
Yeah.
45 seconds because she'll read it
Just
in
yell
15
it.
seconds.
Just yell
Then
it.
she'll have
I
to
don't
think
know.
of the answer.
Sport equals dis.
Sport.
I don't know
equals
sport.
this.
How do you like it? Sport.
It feels like a it feels like a thing you would say to a young person.
Yeah, a youngin.
And specifically like a youngin. Yeah.
You're never going to call a person with any type of authority or respect that you interact with in everyday life sport. You're not going to call them that.
Yeah.
You might call them
Yes.
sir. You might call them doc. You might call them professor. I don't know.
Well, you call
but you're not gonna
everyone
say
doc.
Yeah, but you're not going to say sport. That's just not. You always use sport for someone that is mentally more than like 60% younger than you. Mentally, emotionally.
I don't know that I've got that threshold. I don't know that I've got that algorithm set up, but I would say sport is going to be for a 10 years old or younger. That's what I would say.
What's the woman equivalent? I don't know. I think you would have to tell me if I'm honest. It's hard for me to say. Jedi, COVID does suck. That is true, but it sounds like are you already on the upswing? By the way, is it already getting better? Toots? I was about to say toots. I realized it wasn't that.
I don't think toots. I don't think toots is it because toots is a thing
almost
that
feels
you
a
would
bit
call
sexist or something like.
Well, it's something you would say to a younger or I'm sorry to a more adult, mature person.
Hi. Toots. I don't know. Toots, I just always think of the cigar smoking baby from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I feel like he would say toots all the time. So that's just what I imagine.
Baby
Or
Herman.
doll. Yeah, that like these are all the
Those are like late 50s like listen toots. Hey doll. Like that's not what you're saying to little kids.
Yeah, it's
Princess?
more just looking down on women.
Princess maybe? It might be princess.
Princess would be pretty close. What would you like, princess?
Hey, how are you, princess?
That hits the same way for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all. But honestly, if someone called me princess, I would love it.
Yeah,
Are you saying it's a good thing to be called? Or are you saying it's a good
she's saying
comparison?
it's a good
sport?
equivalent. Yeah. I'm believing in myself to think that that's the equivalent. Yeah.
No, she would love to be called princess. I know.
Yas, queen. All right, let's get
Monica loves
started.
being called princess or Disney,
Let's
yeah.
kick it.
I don't know if we have terrible latency right now or if you're just getting distracted by something that's happening somewhere else.
I think there's latency because you're saying things, and then I'm responding, and then you're taking like 2 beats to respond back to it.
Yeah, that's what it is. So we'll just be done with that. That's
So
fine.
hang on, I'm just gonna refresh my page.
Sure,
That's
see
fine.
you later, buddy.
It's just
Bye.
friends here right now. I mean, it's just pretty much us.
I'd get annoyed outside of being at this. I don't know though. So you wouldn't get annoyed if like one of your girlfriends was calling you princess, but you would get annoyed if anyone outside of your closest circle was calling you that. I think I would get annoyed at sport in all cases. Doll. Oh yeah. Hi everybody, I'm Patrick. Great to meet you. I found this shirt because we're packing stuff up, and now as part of packing stuff up, you find stuff. Also, I got a new figure back here that I might show off during the podcast if I can figure out how to reach it without leaving this chair. So I'll work on that in just a second. But tonight we're going to talk about Wolverine and Deadpool. And based on the fact that it's already made $450 million at the global box office, I'm going to assume you've all seen it. So it'll be full spoilers the entire time. Andrew wants to talk about the Olympics, but I don't know who's watching that. So if you are watching it, maybe just say you're watching it, but highly doubt it. And then we're also going to talk about Never Stop Blowing Up. It's going to be great. Oh, look, Andrew has rejoined us. Hello, Andrew. Would you like to step up on stage now?
What an absolute garbage fire of trying to get back into this.
Yeah, that
system.
took a long time, and I got really worried that I was going to have to do this the whole night.
It logged me out completely. Oh. I had to re-sign in using Google.
Weird.
I had to authenticate using Google. And then when I did, it brought me into my personal page. And so I had to back out of my personal page, join the group. Oh my gosh, it was so stupid. And everything took like an extra 5 seconds to do too.
Can someone tell me how to pronounce EP? That's what I need to know. Is it epi? Is it ape? Is it ape? Ipi? I don't know.
What the heck did I miss besides you having a stroke? Like, I don't
You haven't missed it.
where-
It is
what's
ongoing.
happening.
You are here for it.
Okay.
Like epee? Is that how you would say that? I'll wait 20
What the heck
seconds.
are we talking about? There's nothing in the chat that's telling you this other than
In
EP
fencing,
underscore.
in fencing, your epee, I'm going to say epee. I'm going to say it faster. Epee is, I believe, your weapon, like your little sword you use. It's not a sword.
No, it's not. It's not an epee.
It is.
Those are called. No. That's not what it's called. I know what it's called, and I would have been able to say it prior to you saying epee. They're called.
You're wrong. I mean,
If it's
I know
epee, then you're pronouncing it totally wrong. That's all I'm saying.
I know the spelling.
There we
Okay,
go.
so
It's a class of fencing. It's not the weapon. The weapon that they use is something different.
Okay, here we go. The epee, also rendered as epee in English, is the largest and heaviest of the three weapons. So it is the sword that is used. Now, it might be
You're
both.
thinking of Excalibur.
No. It might be both the object and the class, because I see it used interchangeably. I think everyone is correct. But it is the name of the stabber. For sure. Google it.
I am right now. In
Okay.
fencing.
Oh,
tell you
and then
what
here's
I'm
the thing.
talking about.
What is epee versus foil? What are the three types of fencing? The foil, the epee, and the saber. So it is both the class and the weapon. Both. We all learned
I'm
something
looking at it right
together.
here, and it says the epee is one of the three types of weapons used in fencing.
Yeah, got it. We're all here.
In conjunction with the saber. So
That's what I was
I will
thinking,
accept your
yeah.
apologies anytime now, sir.
Yeah, perfect. We got there. All right, you ready to start?
Okay, I was totally. None of the words that I just read are the words that I thought that the sword was actually called. So.
What do you think?
Oh,
it's
a
called?
rapier is what I was thinking they were called. A rapier.
Yeah, it's not. But that is a sword. To your credit, you have successfully identified a sword of swords.
That was 5 whole seconds. That was 5 whole seconds from me saying that to you responding. Did you respond immediately, or did you take a second
I
to
did.
think? Because otherwise, we are going to
I
be
responded
grossly
immediately.
off from one another all night.
We're going to be grossly off for sure. You're just cutting out completely.
Good Lord, this is bad. This is super bad.
So what we could do is we could do this thing where you talk
Mhm.
and I do not acknowledge what you're saying, and then I talk and you don't acknowledge.
Well, that's like
what I'm
every
saying.
week.
So the normal show
It's
then.
like every week. Your mom.
Whoa,
Your
fuck,
mom
man. Your
texted me.
mom, like,
Mine's dead. So, your mom texted me and said, "Love you, sport," and then a few
Oh
minutes
my
later
gosh.
said, "Well, this has gone downhill since the joke."
she just could not respect you less as an individual.
Yeah. Here's what we'll do. I will read the intro and we'll see what the actual latency is between these things in real time. And then we'll just go from there. How's that sound? Just garbage. It's just garbage. Okay. Here we go. Are you trying to get the old balloons?
I'm not on a MacBook, so I can't do that.
What gives you... Yeah, oh. Okay. Here we go. We'll just try. 3 and 2 and 1 and... Oh my gosh. There's no way. There's no way. Yeah, there's no way. You're messing with me at this point.
No.
Dude, it's approximately 5 to 6 seconds of delay. Oh. And I wonder why. I've got full bars right now. Like I'm doing great. Like I'm like this is the best Wi-Fi setup that I've had in a while, and I'm doing fine. Oh, this is going to be impossible to do.
Okay, sounds
unless
good.
we restart. But I'm gonna restart. There's no way.
Okay, see you later. No, it's fine. See you later. Go ahead and do that. Okay, body pains normal. Fever. Sure, fevers are good though. Fevers are there to help you. Loss of taste and smell. Craziest experience ever. I remember the first time that happened to me. I was just standing at my fridge, and then I was just like hot sauce and like garlic, and I was just eating stuff. I was just eating things to hold on. Oh no, it's terrible. Okay, great. So I was just eating a bunch of things to like, it was just such a bizarre experience. The weird thing is, when it started coming back, like it would partially come back, but not fully come back, and then things would taste different than they actually taste. It was like several months before I think my taste was correct. Worst sore throat I've ever had. Oh my gosh, just awful sore throat. What else? Headache. Worst headaches I've ever had when I had COVID. But yes, I know Andrew is frozen. But yeah, that's all. Nah. You don't have to. You can clip it. It's fine. I get it. It was incredible. I didn't know what to do. I fully panicked in that moment, and then my body just did whatever it did. But yes, worst sore throat I've ever had. First time I had COVID, I was down for like 2 months straight. It was like 6 weeks. That was wild. The last 2 times I have had COVID, they only lasted for like a week and a half or something. But it was still like pretty severe for a week and a half. But are you taking the COVID medicine? Did they give you the actual like 10-day whatever COVID thing is? You're determined to get back into life. So here, Andrew's coming back. I did find it fascinating. Yeah. So the COVID, no, Andrew's coming. If Andrew can't figure out his stuff, then Will, you can join. No, so the COVID medicine's actually kind of cool. So it's 2 different pills. One of the pills is the pill that helps like stop the replicating of COVID. The second pill is to keep your liver from filtering the first pill out of your body. It's like tries to block that liver, I don't know, whatever. So those are the 2 pills you take. So one pill stops replicating and the other pill forces it to like build up in your body, and then you take it for like 10 days. I will say I took it and it like totally made me feel better.
How we feeling? How we doing? Everything good? Can you hear me?
I think it's good. Here's the thing. Just
Great.
Go ahead and do the intro now. I'm done talking about COVID. You start the intro. Let's
Great.
get into it.
Here we go. I think we're good. Welcome to episode 564 of the Pop Culture Roundtable, the podcast that's down one of our heads. But don't worry, it'll regenerate quickly. In this episode, we talk about the Olympics, Never Stop Blowing Up, and Deadpool and Wolverine. I'm Andrew Sale.
And I'm Patrick Hill.
So sauce up those chimichangas, because it's time for another episode.
You got it, dude. That's Deadpool's famous
Classic.
catchphrase.
Classic.
You got it,
yeah,
dude.
he pulls it straight from Michelle Tanner.
Yeah. Sounds good, bub. All right.
All right, here we go. So apparently there was something that happened while I was gone. Patrick's false alarm sneeze. Okay, that's good.
I
good to know.
had to sneeze, and I didn't know if I should turn my video off, if I should turn away. I panicked, and then the sneeze came out while I was trying to figure out what to do, and so the problem kind of just resolved itself.
Sure, yeah. If you choose to wait to make a decision, that in and of itself is making a decision.
Yes, there's some song lyrics about that.
Yeah, it's you got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them.
No, it's if you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice.
Oh, that classic. Who was it that sung that song?
I don't know.
Ted
But it
Bundy.
sounded
Okay.
beautiful.
Yeah, here we go. We like to kick off every episode by going around the table, which is where we talk about things that are new, fun, and noteworthy about our week. Patrick, it's just you and I this week, and so this episode is going to be just a little bit of bro time. Bro, because you know time.
Sounds good, sport. Okay. The big thing
Excuse
from
me,
this,
sir.
the big thing from this week is I love it. So we do this on Twitch. If you're not on Twitch, you should get on Twitch, twitch.tv/move1podcast. And so we always record live, and everybody's just talking about COVID symptoms in chat, and I enjoy that. So I'll keep getting distracted by that. This week, you and I watched the first part of the newest D&D setting from Dimension 20, and that's Never Stop Blowing Up. It's like 6 or 8 people. And can we give the setup? Can we give the setup for the actual?
There are 6 players, and yeah,
Right.
go ahead and give the setup. It's fine because if you've watched the trailer, you get an idea of what this is. Not fully, but it's fine. You can give that away.
So the idea is that each of the players is actually playing 2 characters. They're playing the character in the real world, and it's a group of people that all revolve around a video rental store. And then, kind of a la Last Action Hero or something like that, they're also each playing a character in this, 80s action universe. And each person...
A tropian universe.
Exactly. And each person correlates to an action character that we've seen. So it's got the James Bond and the family. Just kidding. It's got the
Vin
James...
Diesel.
Yeah, Vin Diesel specifically. I don't know what his actual name is in any of the what's the franchise called?
Fast and Furious.
I almost said Need for Speed. That would have been terrible. What's funny is I think I've seen all of the movies in the franchise, and that's how meaningful it is to me. But anyway, each one corresponds to like an action hero trope or whatever, and that's it. So every person's kind of playing this double duty, and it's really cool. We've only got a small taste of seeing them switch between characters, but there is this like kind of real-time switching that's at least happening at the beginning. So
Yeah.
very, very exciting to see. On one hand, it's really fun for this type of setting is really fun for me because it's firmly rooted in worlds that I very deeply understand. That can be a difficult thing about sitting down at a D&D table for the first time. If you're being thrown into this fantasy environment and you don't have anything like to relate to within that fantasy environment, that can make it tough to kind of know what to do. So it's nice that like you have lots of really, really clear anchors to use for the characters you play and for the actions you might take. And then just all the people they use are they have such
Good.
great table manners. And then of course, Brendan Lee Mulligan as the DM is, he just knows what he's doing. He's honestly one of the first DMs I've watched, maybe the first DM I watched that doesn't just come across as nails on a chalkboard for me. Like very, obviously driving the story along, but at the same time, it does not feel like it's about him. It feels like it's about the characters, and
He's looking at
it's a
you,
really
Will.
good balance.
He's looking at you, Cole.
Yeah, and it's a super good balance. I know I was looking at all of the other high end
critical role.
DMs. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's been Will felt it, or he something else said. I don't know. But yeah, it's called Never Stop Blowing Up. If you want to check it out, I mean, you should just get the Dropout app. It's very inexpensive. And also on that note, they have an app.
Yeah, they have a television app.
Yeah, that's the
They've
thing.
they've had the phone app for a long time, but when I first downloaded the phone app, they did not have a TV app, and I wanted it badly. And then Patrick, you pulled it up the other day, and I was like, what? Like, I've been airplaying this to my TV every time I want to watch this on the big screen. So that was a nice little surprise.
Yeah, you did not need to do that all.
This season looks like it's gonna be a lot of fun. I almost picked up episode 2 when I was on my walk yesterday or the day before, and realized I want to see it. I want to watch it rather than just listen.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, like, they're long. So the first episode's like an hour and 40 minutes. The second episode is 2 hours and 5 minutes. So you really have to set out the time. But I didn't want to start it if I couldn't actually go through the episode, because I know when I started, it's addictive enough. I am not going to put it down.
Yeah. It was fun to watch it. The other day, I was literally just wanted to show you the theme, because like we were watching something else. I think we were getting ready to watch Game Changers or Make Some Noise or something. And I said, I saw a thumbnail of it. I said, have you seen the theme for this season of Dimension 20? And you said no. I was like, here, just pull it up. And then we watched the entire hour and 48-minute episode. So,
but it was great.
Yeah, it's
every
very,
minute
very
of it was good. So, so that's the big thing. Andrew, what have you done this week?
Yeah, so ordered something for Cooper. I pre-ordered it on U2's, that company that I talked about the other day. And it finally came in. This was actually for Christmas, and it was a pre-order. It finally came in. But the YouTuber Dan TDM has a plush. And how rad is this plush? It's like legitimately very, very high-end, high-quality plush. And it came in the mail, and it's just super fun. So I wanted to show that. If you've not gone over to YouTube's and searched, it's not just YouTubers anymore. It's they have lots of IP now. It's growing, much like how Funko grew in the early days, before they took over every property that exists. But like, they've got some really nice stuff. So if you've not, I know we've got people on the call right now who are fans of like Ninja Turtles, and some of these other animated shows. They have some really nice lines in those IPs. So just go check that out.
I wish I liked plushes. Like plushes, there are a lot of things that I do like, properties I do like, that you can't find proper toys, but you can find plushes of.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, with how people do licensing. And on top of that, they're very inexpensive. So if you're wanting to just get, like, I don't know, IP specific stuff to adorn your room, plushes are such a great way to go about it. And I hate them. I can't bring myself to spend money on them.
I think they're Cooper's number one thing. He loves things that are soft, and I don't know, man. He had this monkey. You've seen Monkey. You're familiar with Monkey, but he had Monkey ever since he was a baby, and up until really like last year, he would sleep with him every night. And so I think that's where like his
right here.
What?
He's gonna love this, but keep going.
Well, he has since graduated from Monkey, which was a sad thing from a parental side of things. But now he still likes plush, and they're plush like this. They're fun. They're of IPs and things that we get to do together. So
Beanie Babies.
We
did see. We walked down. Mackenzie and I walked down the toy store of our local grocery store today. Not the toy aisle.
It's like, you walk down to a toy store? Where is this toy store?
Very meta.
Yeah.
We walked down the toy aisle of our local grocery store today, and they have Tamagotchis.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
That
Tamagotchis are back, my guy. Lots of things from the late 90s. Pogs! The official, you can sign up to be on the official Pog team. It's not really a team, but like, you get a package in the mail with all these official Pogs for competition. Like, there's going to be a pog competition again. Like, what's happening?
I just want my pog cutter. I had like the pog cutter thing where you stuck stuff in it and you pressed it down and you turned the little knob and then it turned it into a
You've
pog.
got to be able to find that on eBay, right? Like a pog
cut
cutter.
so many things into
Hey,
circles.
hey,
I cut
chat.
so many things.
Yes, pogs are back. Hey, chat, can somebody, while we're chatting right now, find a link for the Alf is back too. I saw Alf figures from NECA that are in the toy store right now, in the toy aisle, as Patrick would say, right now at Target. Alf toys. So if someone can find a link to a pog cutter, that'd be fantastic.
It had a handle, you slide something in, you pressed down, and then you turned a knob, and it cut a pog.
Now, it would have to be the right depth and consistency of cardboard, right? Because like otherwise it's not really a pog.
No, but that's the thing. You could cut anything. So it was kind of up to you to get the right thickness thing.
Yeah. I
think you could find. I think you could buy like pog stock basically to cut, but I don't know. Let's see. Kreider dropped a link. Let's see.
Kreider dropped a link. Can you pull it up on the screen, Patrick? Drop.
This is it.
Share your screen.
This is 100% what I had. Okay, hold on. I'll share my screen.
Of course you still have your pogs, Jedi. Of course you do. Like, of course. And what's crazy is I was watching something about pogs, and I remember, like, everyone had like these. There's a handful of, if anybody. Oh my gosh!
Did you ever have this?
So is that sticky paper with? Is it like sticky paper with or sticky cardboard where you'd peel it and you'd put paper on it and then you could cut it?
Yeah, maybe because I ran out of that at some point.
Oh my word!
Whatever you could wedge into this circle, you would then shut it. Like shut this thing, it closes.
And you clamp
and
it.
then when it closes, you press down on this clear plastic piece and you just like press and turn until it pushes through.
But that backer, the pog backer is what I'm interested in most in.
My parents didn't buy me more of that, so I have no idea. And then
Carol,
you would just open it. And
well, you're getting it next week from Carol now, just because you said that.
You were supposed to press this tab, and when you press this tab, it pushed this center up to pop it out. That's how you got the pog out.
No, this is very similar to a button maker, like a current day button maker.
$40. Holy cow, that's crazy.
That's nothing.
But this is the exact version that I have.
Let's make Lorcana pogs.
Look at them.
If we made Lorcana pogs, we could sell them on these Facebook group pages.
So yeah, I guess it came with a sheet of this, but like once you ran out, just whatever you could find, you could like shove in here. You could cut into a pog. And that's what I would do.
Wow. I am all over that. That's fantastic. But yeah, that and Tamagotchi and Alf. I mean, it's all back, man. It's all the mid 90s stuff is it's back. So okay, so I forget where I was at. Oh, we were watching the Olympics, and there's a lot of really great stuff about the Olympics. But one thing that I do want to talk about is how they do the events right now, and the events are all over. Did you know that? Did you know that the events are all over? Not only are they just all over the city, which is true of most Olympics, because it's widely misunderstood that they don't all happen like downtown wherever they are. So
they're
spread
different
out
parts of the world.
Yes, but no, yes. But I mean, like, even when there's a city, like they're not all in the same city limits. But this year, the surfing, it's in Tahiti, because Tahiti is a French province, and so they kind of put it under that guise. But they did. What's so cool is the sand volleyball. Like they tried to put these in places in the city that are like by monuments or by major landmarks to make it more, I don't know, picturesque or whatever. But I'm going to talk about that in just a second, Mackenzie, because it's fantastic. But they put the beach volleyball is right at the base of the Eiffel Tower. So you're seeing these people play beach volleyball, and then you just see the full Eiffel Tower with the Olympic rings all lit up and all the sparkles. It's so fantastic. But yeah, Peacock has done an incredible job with the app for this year, because you can view any of these the events that you want to view, whether they're live or recaps or whatever. You can bookmark them so it will notify you when the events are coming up. It'll notify you. And you can do what they have is this multi-view panel where you can watch multiple events at the same time, and essentially like picture in picture, just scrub over to the one that you want to watch at that moment and click on it, and it will go full screen. If you click on it again, it goes back to the multi-view, and you can scrub through them. They've done an incredible job, Peacock has, with this. And I think a designer, from a design standpoint, the icons that they use for all of the events this year are absolutely beautiful. They did a fantastic job with the icons for the events.
Have you seen the building that I believe it's Peacock is using for their like production space? For all their interviews that they do and live reporting and stuff? It's a restaurant. I've seen the
space, but I don't know anything about it.
It's a restaurant that's basically as close as you can get to the Eiffel Tower at the base of the Eiffel Tower. So like when you walk out the front of the door of the restaurant, you're just staring at the Eiffel Tower. And they've taken over, so the patio of the restaurant is where they have their live set up, and the whole dining room is where they're doing all their switching, and it's just their whole huge production space. They've just pulled all their equipment in there. It just looks like a live truck. And then they're still running the kitchen of the restaurant, but I think the kitchen is just cooking for the cast and crew the whole time. It's a pretty rad setup if you look at behind the scenes for it.
I listened to the latest episode of Smartlist where they had Mike Trico. It's the main host for the Olympics, the guy who does all the recap stuff in the morning and in the evenings. And he was talking about their space and how great the studio is. He did not mention it was a restaurant though, which is interesting because it seems like a really fun nugget of trivia to bring up about it.
Yeah, they serve nuggets on Tuesdays.
And they serve freedom fries there as well. Yes?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. We're not going political.
I think if you pay,
we're not going political on this show.
The French are notoriously lenient with their food. They're notoriously willing to use different names and change recipes and all that type of stuff. So
I am I'm a huge fan of the Olympics. I went to the last summer, well, not the last one. I went to the Rio Olympics, the last one where people were allowed to go, because the one in Tokyo was canceled, and then COVID kept people from like actually attending it. But I went to Rio, and that was a blast. And seeing the one this year, they've done so many things different than how they did it how they've done it in years past. And I think they've done a lot of it really, really well. The things that they've changed, most of it have really knocked it out of the park. So if you're not watching the Olympics, we're still only a couple days into it. You still have plenty of time to catch a lot of the events. The things happening with the women's gymnast? How would you say that? Gymnastic team. There we go. The women's gymnastic team for the U.S. is obviously kind of an all-star, but we also have a men's gymnast on our team this year who's doing some incredible things as well. Frederick something. I just watch him in awe, and it's incredible. Go check out the Olympics. It's a lot of fun. That's it. We're primarily gonna spend some time talking about Deadpool that came out this week. And so we're just gonna spend essentially the rest of this episode talking about that. So, with that being said, we're just 4 days after the premiere of the movie, so it's entirely possible that people haven't seen it yet. And if that's you, you're free to stick around for the next couple minutes. But after that, I mean, we'll be pretty clear when we jump into major spoilers. But we're just gonna talk about spoilers because it's gonna be fun. Oh, this is something to mention before we go into Deadpool. If people don't want to listen, did you see the Hall H stuff from Marvel?
Of course. Well, yeah. I say of course. there were a couple of pieces that were big enough news that I think
Yes.
everyone saw them because they were on the front of every feed.
I want to know, and it's a sad day for Lauren that she's not here to just explode.
She would do a
all
full
over this.
breakdown. She would have a full breakdown to do, and she probably still will next week.
So I want to hear what your thoughts are on Robert Downey Jr. being announced as Doctor Doom, which I think I've watched that clip from 20 different sources, 20 different angles, and I still am sitting here going, is this real though? I'm still not fully believing it. But what are your thoughts on Robert Downey Jr. coming back to the MCU as Doctor Doom?
Well, number one, on behalf of Luke, I do want to say I'm very excited to see Doctor Doom.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought too.
He's been waiting a while for this.
Why haven't we texted Luke in the group chat about Doctor Doom? This is huge news for him.
I can't have an opinion on this because I'm not a comic book person. Some people have spent a lot of time and a lot of effort reading a bunch of comics. I understand at a very high uninformed level that there are comics in which Iron Man becomes Doctor Doom in kind of like a what if scenario.
Dark Stark or something like that.
Whatever you said.
Yeah, Dark Stark or something like that.
So this isn't like a new thing from a comic perspective. That said, we obviously don't know what the plot of the film is. On one hand, clearly there's, from the studio perspective, they're trying to gain some nostalgia, even if it's nostalgia from something that's not, it's not like it's from when we were kids. It's nostalgia from a decade ago. Clearly, they're trying to tap
it is
into
nostalgia from when some people are kids.
Sure, but I will say that on the Hollywood side, from a numbers standpoint, there aren't that many people that actually drive box office sales at the end of the day. Like it used to be a lot bigger thing. That you put this one A-lister in this role and that the movie is going to be a success at the box office, and that's just not the case very much anymore. So it's easy to take the shallow view of that's the only reason he's there, but realistically I don't think we've seen that actually pan out in the numbers, because even people like The Rock, who's been in all these like super high grossing films, he still puts out films that are complete duds, aka his vehicle, Black Adam. It's just not the reality. Like arguably biggest money-making actor in Hollywood,
and money making, yes,
can't get people to show up to the movie that he says he cares the most about. So I think there is. I understand some cynicism, but again, I don't think we actually see that play out as much. So it's going to be some nostalgia, but it apparently also follows some of the existing comics. It'll be interesting to see what the actual story is. But I'm excited, man. He's just got the attitude. I'm very excited for Doctor Doom. I love the aesthetic of all of it. Like I'm excited to see it on the big screen.
I'm excited to see how they do it. I wonder if it will. I've seen some AI generated images that people immediately made as soon as the announcement came out. I wonder if it is going to be a modified version of Iron Man Mark 625 or whatever, the world that it's from. I think it's like whatever Earth dash whatever number, the multiverse that it's from. I wonder if it's just gonna be that version of Iron Man with the green and stuff. I hope it's not that. For the sake of fandom and for fun, I hope it actually looks like Doctor Doom and doesn't look like Iron Man, alternate universe. Like
maybe he's not even in the film. They just wanted him because they knew it would get front page.
Maybe. Legitimately, there is part of me that's saying, like, is this just a publicity thing? Because, it feels unreal enough. Like, it feels fake news enough. And also, if it's not, and, I'm only saying that, like, conspiracy theorists, like, only like a 15%. I'm only 15% there. Mostly thinking if they did tell the world, then yes, that is going to be him. But now that it is him, I want to know what the paycheck was to get him to come back to this franchise.
Again, probably not worth it for what they'll actually bank from the film. It'll be interesting to see, like, again, we don't know anything. Well, I say we don't know anything about it. Lauren might know a ton about it because she's just like digging through the dregs. I have no idea. But as far as I know, we don't really know much of anything. So it'll be interesting to see how it actually plays out. But honestly, maybe I'm off on this. Maybe I'm completely thinking about it the wrong way because of Luke's influence. But I feel like Doctor Doom is cool enough on his own that it really didn't matter who was behind the mask.
I agree.
I still think he's Doctor Doom is exciting enough that it just didn't matter.
You know, there were some other people that were they're speculating about who it was going to be. At one point, it was the question of Pedro Pascal, and then we found out that Pedro Pascal is actually going to be playing Dr. whatever, Stretchy Boy from Fantastic Four. I'm
Dr.
blanking
Stretch
on his
Boy.
name. Dr. Stretchman. Stretch Armstrong. From the Fantastic Four. I can't believe I'm blanking on his name. Kreider's going to pop in any second and tell me what the name is of that character.
You're just killing time till Kreider tells you in chat.
Yeah.
Love it.
To help me out with this
Could
story.
Google it? Not going to. Would rather wait the 60 seconds of lag.
There we go. Dr. Reed Richards. There it is. That's Jared popping in. A little swoops McKenzie over there. Reed Stretch Boy Richards. But he, once that happened, I didn't know who it was going to be. I was excited for Pedro Pascal. But there was also part of me that was kind of hoping for like a wild card, like a Jermaine Clement or something like that. You know what I mean? Who has this kind of, can have a very dark persona to him, but also has a level of like flair to him. Robert Downey Jr., I guess, he does personify that. The problem is he personified that with Iron Man already, so it's just going to be a weird, like, heel, like, turning on your heel type thing. So we'll see how it plays
so.
out.
People in chat are throwing out different names of people they would like to see. I honestly would just
John
rather
Hamm
see
would have been great.
I would kind of rather just see a nobody. One of the exciting things, so early on in Marvel, you got this feeling that they were breathing a bunch of life into characters that not that many people cared about. And then you also got this feeling that they were turning these non-A-listers into A-listers. All of a sudden, like being in a Marvel film, like it was this combination of two things that weren't, top of the whatever. And then all of a sudden they managed to will that into existence. And so there's a bit of me that would like to get to see more of the just no names in these roles. So.
Think about Thomas Holland. You know what I mean? Like, I can't picture. I used to say that Andrew Garfield was the only Spider-Man I could ever picture. Like, Andrew Garfield would be the quintessential Spider-Man. And then Tom Holland came around, who no one knew about. And now, his name is ubiquitous with Marvel and Spider-Man.
I've got it solved. So if we think about RDJ, he had the whole there was some drug stuff. His life fell apart. He had to get stuff back together. He fell down to the C list. Marvel brought him back up to the A list. We need to find another currently C list actor.
Alec Baldwin.
Alec Baldwin.
There it is. Kevin Spacey.
No, I was gonna. What's it? Braveheart. What's his name? Braveheart.
Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson. That's what we need.
Let's get. We've got a handful of guys who used to be something, and for one reason or another, we can do Louis C.K. He could come in. I just think we need a
problematic C-level actor to play Doctor Doom, and I think that's what Marvel should be casting. I think they were at their best when that's who they were focusing on.
When there was no expectation.
It's nothing. They succeed in an environment with no expectation.
Okay. There's several corresponding jokes that I've wanted to make in conjunction with the Deadpool film. And so I think it's only fitting at this point for us just to shift over into the Deadpool film and really just say, see Deadpool if you haven't already, and stop listening now if you haven't. Because
Quick question: Are you gonna throw to master categories, or we're just moving into?
well,
it?
I think we just move into it, man. I think we
Hey,
just
we're
roll.
just moving into it. This
Yeah,
is
it's just
there would be
organic.
music,
You
no
know what I mean?
music.
We were
Wait, you want
talking
to talk?
about.
We're not going to talk spoilers though. We're going to first overall.
I was just
feelings.
gonna jump. I just don't know that you can do. I don't know how do you do a conversation about Deadpool and Wolverine without
Just do
spoilers?
this. Just all you got to do is it worth seeing the film? That's it.
Well,
Just,
that's what I was
seeing the
saying.
film?
That's what I was saying. Before you leave, if you've not seen the movie, you should see this movie. It's a ton of fun. It is. And now I will say it is a movie that I think it's the movie that you need the most amount of pre-watching to fully understand all of it. You have to have a pretty deep knowledge bench of the Fox Marvel movie franchises and the Marvel movie franchises, as well as some of the Marvel television franchises, as well as non-Marvel television franchises of actual family members of some of the cast. Like, you've kind of got to know a little bit of everything in pop culture to fully appreciate this movie. But you should go see this movie. It's not for everybody. It's vulgar, and it's crass, and it is a little how would you say it, Patrick? What would you say? It's gruesome. There's some gruesomeness to it. Not a ton, but there's some.
Yeah, but it's not gory, but it's over the top. It's over the top
Yeah,
in the
it's
humor.
over-
It's over the top in the
it's gratuitous.
crassness. It's yeah, exactly. That's just the reality of the film. And I will say, you're not going to walk away loving it because of the plot, but if you have any history with superhero films, especially superhero films from outside of the Marvel franchise, I think the nostalgia is just overwhelming, and you can't escape it.
The this was a movie made for fans by fans. That's really what it feels like. So, with that being said, I'm going to give this movie a 9 out of 10. You should see this movie. Patrick, what would you rate it? And then we'll jump into some spoilers.
Yeah, you know what? I think my experience was probably a 9 out of 10 experience.
Yeah, it was good. It's enough. I want to go see it again. All right. Hey, if you're sticking around after this, it's because you want to talk about what happened in the movie. All right, so now, this is funny. This is like the first time a movie like this has happened, and we've seen it, but we didn't see it together. Oddly, because of a bit of you thought that I was seeing it one night, and we weren't. And
I thought
so
you already had tickets.
Yeah.
And so, because you said you were going to be watching Deadpool, so I was like, oh, he's already got tickets. And I was sitting at home bored, and it was Friday night, and I pulled up a movie theater, and I was just checking showings, and like sold out, one seat available. And then I found one theater that had one seat on the next to last row.
Nice.
And I was like, all right. And the movie was starting in like 20 minutes. And I was like,
Nice.
all right, I'm going to go.
So we haven't talked about this. The point is, we've not chatted about it. Usually when we go see movies like this, afterwards we stand in the lobby for 20 minutes, and then we move our way out into the to the parking lot, and we're standing there for another 10 minutes. This is the first movie that we've not done that with in a very, very long time.
Yeah.
Okay. What did you think about the intro? Like, right off the bat.
So this is where, and see, Kreider, you and I are aligned on this, because there are components of this that are like very mediocre for me, but I almost didn't want to like it to an extent. And actually, the intro was too much of what I expected this film was going to be, and I did not like the intro. Like, sitting there at the beginning of the film, and I would say for maybe even like until we go to the TVA, which I realize is still fairly early in the movie, but until we I'm blanking on the guy's name or whatever. It was almost just I could have guessed what was going to happen. I could have wrote that, and I have very little understanding or knowledge of the Deadpool world. But it was just the type of humor I expected, the type of whatever I expected. So it was fine. It was stylish, but we already had a movie of this style. So it's kind of like walking into John Wick 4 and like, oh, cool, another guy got shot in the face. Like it didn't do anything for me. And it wasn't until later in the film that it grabbed my attention.
So see, I agree with probably 80% of what you just said. The part that I didn't expect was that he would right off the bat, like the very first line was breaking the fourth wall, talking about Disney, talking about Fox, and talking about doing the movie with Hugh Jackman, right? Like he immediately addresses that. And then he says, I know you've been wondering, how are we going to address him coming back and not dishonor what happened at the end of Logan? And then he gives off this like whole explanation of, well, he regenerates, he doesn't actually die, and so he's not been living his best life, but he's still alive. And in my head, I was going, oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay, because I was wondering those same kind of pull. That's not what happens. He is dead, and then we see this Hugh Jackman-esque corpse come out that he then uses every piece of his adamantium body to, kill all these people around him. I did not expect that. That part was wild to me.
Yeah, Kreider, I assume we're just basically talking about the first NSYNC song.
Yes.
Like up through then. I assume that's what we're referring to. That's what I'm referring to. So
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, the intro, the very first thing that you see. And I thought that set the tone. That set the tone immediately for, okay, this is going to be a wholly irreverent movie, even to the franchises that have come before it. It's going to play with Fox, it's going to play with Disney, it's going to play with Marvel. Because he even says the thing about, like, you're over the multiverse stuff just like we are, right? Like, there was nothing off the table, and it set the tone immediately for that. And I loved that. I thought it was great.
I mean, so again, for me, it didn't do anything for me because I expected no less than that. And a lot of the lines or the images that were, we saw the 20th Century Fox logo buried in the void in the trailer. We heard
I didn't watch the trailers.
Okay, that's fine. We heard the Marvel Jesus logo comment in the trailer as well. So several of those things calling out other studios, we had already seen that. And so again, like the intro, it was fine. The thing that did stand out to me was the choreography and the CGI were super good. The CGI actually seemed above, in a lot of ways, what we've been seeing from Marvel recently. It actually seemed like a step above throughout the film. So that part stood out to me through that sequence.
There's comment that's happening in the chat right now, talked about how it was meta, but it was written into the story. And another Marvel property that did that was She-Hulk, and She-Hulk didn't do it well. This felt like the right balance of meta, referring to itself, breaking a fourth wall, and then maybe even a fifth wall. Like it went deep into itself and then into itself again. Like that kind of thing. And it worked in the context of this movie. I think because of the freedom that we get from the character of Deadpool and what Ryan Reynolds has done with him over the last decade.
I should also say that I'm not that big of a fan of Hugh Jackman. It's not that I don't like Hugh Jackman. I just find him a little
Australian,
lame, kitschy. I don't know, like slightly lame, like a little. I don't understand the appeal fully. And most of the things I've seen from Hugh Jackman have just been his Wolverine performance. I haven't seen a lot of his other like serious roles. So I did enjoy like one of the early montages we get is the Finding Wolverine montage. I think that's when I started getting like pulled into the film, was during that bit. But we very quickly have some really serious scenes, like the whole travel through the void. Like there's some really, really serious moments that happen at several points. And I think Hugh Jackman's performance is the other thing. Like the things that hooked me in, Hugh Jackman's performance is actually one of the big things, his serious emotional moments. And then the other thing was, as soon as we got that big nostalgia hit of all of these like forgotten characters, I think from then on, I was probably smiling the rest of the film. I just had to like get to those moments that had to like melt my icy exterior, and then I was fully in.
What did you do? What did you do when we saw Cap? Like the full reveal that it was Cap.
I got totally fooled.
It's Chris Evans.
Totally
I
fooled,
totally
yeah.
was fooled.
Yeah.
Didn't even think about it. And then he says "flame on" or whatever it is that he says, and then rips off his poncho, and it's the Flameman, Scotty Flameman,
Chuck Flameman, yeah.
The Human Torch. And I totally had forgotten that that's how he actually got his start in Marvel movies, and I had to explain it to Becca, who was saying, I was like, that was like one of his very first roles, was playing that character, and how funny that was. And I was totally, I mean, I fell right for the bait for that, with that, and it was phenomenal. And then it was just running the gambit. Pun not intended, running the gambit of okay, while we're in the void, who are we going to see?
Yeah.
And seeing Elektra was like,
Sure.
What? Like, okay, that's, and then even the joke with Elektra of where's Daredevil, and she says he died, and he says, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and she says it's okay. Like, knowing that Daredevil was played by Ben Affleck initially, and they were married for a while, and then they got divorced, like the pandering to even the outside of the universe jokes of actual people's lives was phenomenal. I mean, he referred to Blake Lively. He refers to Blake at one point. He's like, Blake's not going to like this. And he refers to Gossip Girl and the additional bone he gets in his body when watching Gossip Girl. Like, there's so many deeply rooted Easter eggs in this movie that it was fun to see that play out. And then who was it that came out after Elektra? I
think we went from Elektra to Blade to
Oh
Gambit.
yeah, it was Wesley Snipes. Yeah, it was Wesley Snipes coming out as Blade, and then Gambit, which was so fun because he's never been in the movies, but he has been petitioning for like the last decade. Channing Tatum has pitched over and over again on social media that he wants to play Gambit in an X-Men movie.
You'll need to tell us, but wasn't there a Gambit movie planned that got killed?
There may have been.
I think it was even more than petitioning. I think they were, I don't know how far they got. I don't know if there were ever any screen tests or what, but my understanding was there was actually a Gambit film that got killed, but still great to see.
It was so funny, and all of them comic accurate, right? Like all of them film accurate. And gosh, the gag, I know we're all over the place, but that's fine. We're in spoiler territory, so it's fine. Pretty sure they got into pre-production. So yeah, the just the play on that, and
then of course then X-23 comes out, which is the last person we get.
Yeah. And the play at the on when it seems like Deadpool is making up all of this stuff that the Human Torch said about kind of the big bad in
Cassandra Nova,
Nova. And then only to find out in the stinger at the end that he actually did say all that stuff and more. And then he says, "And you can quote me on that." Like, so it's like the jokes just didn't stop, and they were all A+ jokes.
Yeah. So by this point in the film, once we get introduced to these people, like I said, at that point, it's just smiles on my face. Like, you could have almost done anything, and I was still ultimately enjoyed my experience. That was the part that kind of finished putting my guard down for the film. I actually loved Cassandra Nova. Now, Cassandra Nova got awkward and then became a throwaway at the end, which I didn't like. That's one of those characters I love, these kind of like over the top shows of ability, and we don't get a lot of that. Like, everybody's powers get like normalized when they meet, and it's always like a close fight, which is kind of ridiculous. And so I really hoped that Cassandra was going to survive this film, and that was a character we were going to come back to in the future. She did have like one kind of awkward line right before she goes to New York, but otherwise, I thought she was played perfectly. And I'm not saying she was played perfectly for Cassandra Nova in the comics, because I don't read the comics. She could have been the worst. I have no idea. But on screen, I loved her as the big bad in this film.
It was hard for me to look at her and not think of her as the person who played Nell.
No.
Yeah, what's her name? She was in the newest
I'm blanking on
True Detective. She was in, gosh, what's her name? Jodie Foster.
Jodie Foster
She
from
looks
Contact
like,
and
yeah, she looks like a de-aged Jodie Foster
No.
to me. The whole movie, that's who I thought that it looked like. Yeah, there were so many things, and we're not even like. Then we get into the world of like, we know that we are gonna see some additional Deadpools, right? Like we know that they reference it early when they're in.
That was one of my least favorite parts of the film.
The future.
The group of Deadpools.
So it's one of the fun things about the Deadpool is afterwards finding out who played the Deadpools. And that was a lot of fun.
Nathan Fillion or whatever.
Mhm.
Matthew McConaughey was
Matthew
one.
McConaughey was
There
the
were
Western one.
several.
Paul Mullins, which is one of his Wrexham players, like his Wrexham star player, played the
Love
one
that. Didn't
that
know that.
had the Wrexham Dragon logo on his chest. It was Paul Mullins. I just love what Ryan Reynolds did with this project, which was push to have all of the things that you would expect in this movie and then more. Like, it didn't fall short. It wasn't like one cameo or one surprise thing or one happy, like, haha moment. It was just an abundance of it.
He comes across as someone that brings his friends with him.
Yes.
And that's always very endearing. Here's what bothered me about the Deadpool scene. Two things. One, it just felt shoehorned in. So that's one of the places where the plot kind of breaks down for me because they're referenced. The horde of Deadpools is referenced one time in the film.
Yep.
And then it feels like it so sidelines the direction the movie is going that it's almost like was a scene left out? Like, how did we jump from point A to point B? So I didn't like how much it sidelined the current progression.
I actually disagree.
That felt weak. And then the second piece is the choreography for the scene I thought was a bit of a letdown. I based on how good the choreo for it, I don't know. It just didn't kind of hit the marks. Like they tried to do this kind of 2D scroller action sequence at one point, like moving down the street and onto the bus, you know, like it's some like retro arcade game, and it just didn't land the way I think they wanted it to land.
So I think I can get on board with your second critique about it. The choreography felt different than the rest of the movie. But what I disagree with is that it was a sideline to the story. It actually was a bring back to how the story, his actual beginning story was set up with Peter, and Peter telling him of his importance and his purpose, and Peter trying to call Wade back into being Deadpool, and him saying, no, I'm giving that up because I need something that actually is, purposeful or whatever. At the end, it's actually Peter who saves him from himself. Literally, like saves him from the horde of Deadpools. And so there's a turn moment that comes that's set up at the very beginning. And it's actually like this really, to me, it was a really nice payoff of like, oh, every Deadpool has a Peter. And we didn't know that was a thing. Like every Deadpool has the guy that's rooting him on and his right-hand man and his whatever. So to me, I actually do think it was very much a part of the main story. It just didn't contend with, or it just didn't gel with the big bad, but it did deal with like the core of the story, which was him trying to find his purpose in this world where even he doesn't fit in with normal people, and the Avengers don't want him. Like, where does he live in this kind of like in this actual void? And Peter helps bring that back around. And to me, I thought that was actually a poignant moment. Yeah. Plus what Kreider talks about in the chat over here, where, he uses Nice Pool as a body shield, only to discover that Nice Pool doesn't have the regeneration ability.
Yeah, but I think there's also that undertone of he just wanted the guns anyway. So
Sure,
there's
no.
also the bit of like, he might have been dragging that out one way or the other. It's not that, of course I enjoy seeing all of the other dead people, Deadpools, but that was awkward. That movement into that moment, and that part felt very awkward. Now, again, we move to another moment that was very emotional. Another huge shout to Wolverine, to Hugh Jackman.
Huge shout.
Yeah, because then huge Jackman shout. Because then we, get the climactic scene where they're both trying to kind of hold the door for each other at the same time. Although the opposite of that, shut the door on each other at the same time. They're out and icing. But that was a very emotional scene that landed very, very well. And the stuff within that. So that part felt nice. I did hate seeing the demise of Cassandra. I always think of Make Some Noise when she says Cassandra, but
you really liked Nova.
100%. I thought she could have been a great multi-movie big bad. And there's that void of Kang at this point. What's going to happen?
They're filling it with Doctor Doom.
Right, but
that's what they're doing.
I really would have liked to see Cassandra continue to another film. But that whole ending sequence, that did land. Now they spelled it out a bit afterwards, but that's fine. So how they didn't make an Armageddon reference in that moment, I don't understand. Were any of them in Armageddon though?
Yeah, Jennifer Gardner was in Armageddon.
Oh
no, that's Liv Tyler.
That's Liv Tyler with the animal cracker going up the prairie. That's her stomach, or out in the savannah,
that's
whatever.
Liv
that's
Tyler.
Liv Tyler for sure.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, okay. I thoroughly enjoyed what they did. I did not care about Nova, except you're right. She was a formidable foe for sure. And what happened to her is what we saw happening with Loki in the series finale of Loki, with that like spiny kind of deal at the TVA, with all of that stuff happening. And I thought legitimately Tomlet was fantastic.
McFadden. I can't remember his first name, but I'm pretty sure his last name's McFadden. But yeah, he was great. So this is another place where I was saying the CGI just feels so much better than recent films. Imagine the third eye from the last Doctor Strange.
Let's not.
And contrast that to the hands, like her hands going through people's heads. It was so much better in this film. It was so much better in this film.
Man, it just feels like the other ones, when you look at how they did it in this film, it seems like those other films, like The Third Eye is a great example of it, was intentionally campy. Like it had to be for it to be so bad compared to what their capacity actually is. But the movie I thought was a ton of fun. I thought for sure they were going to write off. This was how they were going to write off Wolverine. This was a one-time kind of, he came back for this and it was fun, but he was going to sacrifice himself and give himself purpose and all of these things. And then he didn't. And then he said, we're not going to stick around. And then I thought, okay, that's how they're going to do it. He's just going to go on his own way. And then he doesn't. So now he's like, is Wolverine back? Like, is he here now? Like, that's what's set up at the end of this movie.
It does leave you going, oh, we might see him again. He might pop up somewhere. I mean, I doubt we'll necessarily see him in the suit again. But
well,
it's
they keep
still
making
a fun
the joke
thought.
of it, that Disney's got him for the next until he's 90. Right? He's like, you'll be making these till you're 90.
That's apparently Robert Downey Jr. as well. I will say we did also have one of the worst moments of the film happen right after that, or I guess right before you see him on the bench, which is we don't know how you did it, but somehow the timeline's regenerating. Like, that's the type of plot stuff that, like, just leave it alone.
Yeah,
everything's fine. We can assume it got better.
The main MCU the MCU is not any different in terms of the stakes in this movie were nothing for the ultimate MCU like story arc, right? Like even like with the sacred timeline wasn't being heard at all, right? And so it leads me to believe this movie wasn't intended to push the plot of the MCU forward. It was intended to get fans back into the MCU so that the next film can actually push the story forward.
But also, you had given us enough pieces up to that point that you really didn't have to say anything about what happened.
Right.
You can let us walk away from the film thinking, like assuming it got better.
Yeah, it
You can
spoon-fed that
also-
last little bit that was unnecessary.
You can also let us walk away and not be sure if it got better and talk about it until there's
Right.
another film. You know, like it's okay to just leave some mystery out there from that standpoint.
And leave yourself some options because it's turned out that you've needed them a handful of times. So
you have needed them a few times, but
you've put all your eggs in this Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman basket. All it takes is one photo that's come out,
Okay.
and then the whole thing goes downhill.
So there was a line I really liked. I don't remember the exact reference, but basically Ryan Reynolds is like, "Oh, that's such and such and such from season 2, episode 5 of Loki."
Yeah, episode 4 of yep.
I would have loved more of those references just to really hammer
That
home
was
the
the,
idea that it's
That was
so
the abomination thing that was coming through. That was like the smoke monster.
Yes.
That's the thing that he was
Eliath?
talking about. Yeah, Eliath. Yes, that's what they were talking about.
It's funny because I don't read comics, but I play so much Marvel Snap. I know all these characters, which
That is funny that
that's
you-
the part that I love.
Yeah.
But I kind of wish they had hammered that home more. So I kind of wish there were more of those little like, oh, that's from this episode. That's from this episode. But ultimately, like, once the nostalgia hit of seeing all these kind of old, what feels like forgotten characters, once that all set in, and then that coupled with this real impressive display of emotion from like Hugh Jackman, I walked away from the film. I walked away from the film feeling like I had a really, really good time. Glad that I saw it. It almost hit the high notes of like seeing Guardians of the Galaxy 1 for the first time. It was like almost that big of like an elation. I might go watch it 2 more times and then go like, oh, it's a 6 out of 10 movie or a 5 out of 10. I don't know. But like that first experience hit really hard. And that's the part I think is difficult. And that's the reason I referenced John Wick. John Wick is one of those films that number 2, number 3, they have never captured the highs of the first one.
Yeah.
Whether or not they're good films, it doesn't matter. You can only see the same thing so many times before it loses its luster. And somehow this second film still, even though the opening sequence didn't do it for me, even though the first 20 minutes didn't do it for me, at some point it managed to do something that
Well, this is
I
the third
hadn't
film.
seen.
Did you see Deadpool 2?
Yes, I would have
Okay.
seen all of them. So
Okay, all right. It just dawned on me you might not know
But
half the references.
I'm thinking of it in terms of like the first one though. But this is like, it finally felt like something different or something unexpected at some point, and it hit some of those big highs again, which is the point that was the big standout for me.
2 things. One, that's funny. The other one that was a continuity error that Cooper's friend who went with us told me about and brought up, which was Deadpool had staples in his head from the very beginning of the film when he staples the toupee onto his head. But those staples stayed intact even when they were picked up by that magnet that was a big enough magnet to bring like that big mechanized leg
That was the
to the
standout.
thing. It should have pulled those. It should have pulled those staples out of his head. And when he pointed that out, I said, "Man, you must be really fun at parties, huh?" Like, thanks a lot. But then the other thing that was, oh shoot, what was it that I was just getting ready to say? Oh gosh. Well, it went away. That's fine. I think it was absolutely. Oh yeah, the soundtrack. The soundtrack was beautiful. It was all the songs from the 90s and the early 2000s. It was They did that montage at the end of like all of the films from like the behind the scenes from filming like the original X-Men and Elektra and Daredevil and like all those things. It was so fun to see those behind the scenes. And wasn't it playing with Time of Your Life? Isn't that what was playing over that
Yeah,
montage?
that would have been playing at the very end during the like mid credits.
Yeah. And Madonna, I believe Madonna was playing at the climax
fight or through the climax, one or the other. Yeah, it was in one of those last two big scenes. Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought they nailed it, and I would absolutely. I'm going to see this movie again.
We didn't get Caught in the Rain by Revis. If I think back to the Daredevil Elektra time, that was a standout song for me. So hey, we didn't get that, but that's fine. That's fine.
Maybe it's on the extended cut.
Maybe something extended cut. Okay, what? Okay, quick chat. Everybody in chat. Standout songs from superhero films from any time. So
while they're answering that question, Rob McElhaney.
I have one more, but yes.
Rob McElhaney was one of the TVA agents.
So I read that after the fact, but I didn't see who he was.
You never know which one he is because he keeps the visor down the whole time. And maybe it's the one that he says, I can't really. I would think that would just be the cherry on top of that joke is put Rob in the film and then reference the fact that you can't tell he's in the film.
This is the other one I was thinking of. Good, awesome Kreider. I was thinking of Vindicated for Spider-Man 2. And then Caught in the Rain, which would have been for Daredevil. Yeah, so I will say that this was a great usage of a song. The other one would be Thor when he's
I've never seen Blade.
Oh. Now I'm just thinking about songs. Okay, sorry. Back to you. You asked me
Thanks.
when we texted, you asked me, did you get all the references? That was the first thing you asked me.
Yes.
And
yes.
I never assume in a movie like this that is this dense that I got all the references. But whether or not I got them all, I found myself smirking at the majority of what was said. So from that standpoint, it was great. I as a non-comic book person, did not feel excluded from the party, which was nice.
And like, there's a part of me that would think, and I think I did catch probably 95 or more % of these references, because I fortunately have watched all of the things that you needed to have watched, and I would have never guessed that I would have had to watch all of the things that you had to have watched. Prior to last year, I would never have watched Gossip Girl. I wouldn't really get the Blake Lively jokes that he was like. There's a whole slew of things I wouldn't have caught. But anyway, even if I didn't know, there's part of me that feels like I would be smiling along knowing that that's a reference to something, even if I don't get it, that you just know that the tone of the movie is that everything he's saying is a reference to something else. Yeah. And I could laugh along with just the phraseology of how he strings together these either insults or witty comebacks or whatever it may be. And I love that he did that and he allowed himself to just live into that role, and Wolverine got to be the straight guy and the emotional pull. Like I love that he allowed that kind of balance.
So there's one thing that you wouldn't know unless you had seen one of the teasers. I say teasers. One of the pieces of marketing content prior to the film. So I will throw out this one thing for anybody that didn't see it. But in the movie, there's this flashback. This is towards the very beginning of the movie. And I think it's when he's kind of reliving in his head, like these stages of like being Deadpool. Mm-hmm. And it's either that or when he's talking about like Deadpool, like saving him from himself. I don't know, whatever. But it flashes through all these scenes. And one of the scenes is him getting shot in the back of the head. Did you notice that scene, or do you know what it's from?
Yeah, it's the stinger from Deadpool 2 when he goes back in time and he he makes right all of the wrongs. One of them was shooting Ryan Reynolds in the back of the head before he makes the Green Lantern
I
movie.
love all that little stuff too. That's the little things that I know that when I watch the film again, there'll be like 30 of those things that I didn't realize were there. But that's the stuff that I love.
Yeah, it was great. Okay, everybody, we've talked Deadpool. We've heard your responses. Yeah, I think that's going to be it for this episode.
Oh, that's a good one. Turns out Spider-Man's got some good ones.
Somebody earlier in the thread, I think it was Jedi, said something about he couldn't believe that I thought that Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland are better than Tobey Maguire. But I feel like we've had that discussion into the ground.
Yeah, to
like
be
that's
fair,
that is widely known.
Andrew Garfield's the best.
Andrew Garfield was the best. Tom Holland came in and secured
Andrew
that spot.
Garfield's so good.
Okay, let me say this. I actually agree with you. I think that Andrew Garfield is the better Spider-Man. I think that Tom Holland is the better Peter Parker.
Yeah, and obviously Garfield aged out of it, and the writer's strike or whatever happened. Something happened that like messed up the timeline for him, and so he kind of got the short end of the stick as far as that goes.
He did. Yeah.
Even when he started, he was a little bit old for it, and so in a lot of ways, Tom Holland has felt like stature-wise and age-wise that he like kind of best embodied the character as far as that goes. But yeah. Garfield, just something about his charisma just gets me. I just love him.
Me too. Yeah. I would love to sit next to him on an airplane and just hang out. Yeah. Okay. You can find show notes.
That's my criteria for if you're going to be good as a superhero. Would I want to sit beside you on an airplane?
Can I sit next to you? Who's the guy that played Ernest? Like from Ernest Goes
P.
to Jail.
Worrell.
Yeah, that's the character's name. But what was his?
I don't know.
Gosh. Hey, Kreider, who's the guy that played Ernest? I'm blanking on his name right now.
I'll tell you.
Kreider's just stuck on
Jim Varney.
Jim Varney, thank you. There he is. There we go. Thank you, Kreider. Jim Varney. I could see Jim Varney coming in and doing a stellar Doctor Doom. Okay, on that note, you can find show notes and links to all the stuff we talked about over at mof1.network. While you're there, find an archive with tons and tons of other episodes. Find that Slack channel icon. Join the conversation in there. Watch us live on twitch.tv/mof1podcast each week or on youtube.com/mof1podcast. There we go.
Could be.
You can find us on socials at mof1podcast, all the places. And, like, subscribe, rate, and review. Do all the things that some of you have done and the rest of you haven't because we're not real friends, I guess. But you can do all that stuff. It would help us out so much. But for now, I think we're going to get out of this episode. Like a couple weeks ago, there's no reason for us to roll dice because we don't have the dice reader here.
Sure.
So next week, we'll... hey, Doc Reed showing up right here at the end. Hey Vern,
Sport.
It's me. Hey, Sport. We're going to get out of this episode for now, though. I'm Andrew.
I'm Patrick.
I was going to say something different from Deadpool, but I can't think of anything. So,
okay.
Bye.
Bye. So nice. Doc, who do you want to play Doctor Doom? It's in your name.
Hey, me, Dr. Doom.
Pick anybody. Solid. We're all gonna sit here and wait till you give us.
Oh, he's talking.
I refuse.
Metal Gear. He's a Metal Gear fan.
Solid Snake. Was that Solid Snake? Is that what you're saying?
Solid Snake Doom.
Solid Man.
Man, Dr. Man. Solid Man. That's not what they call me after after I've had Chipotle or something.
Don't.
It's like a diarrhea joke is what I'm trying to say here. But
I thought it was a joke about your boner.
Wait, when you get a boner, you call it getting a solid? What does that mean?
I call myself Solid
What
Man.
is it?
Yeah.
What is it when it's not erect? Is it in liquid form? Like, what is it? I don't understand.
I'll show you. I'll show you later.
Who's Dave? No, you're thinking of Bill Hader. And Bill Hader would make a great Doctor Doom.
No, he would make a terrible Doctor Doom. He'd make like a good Doctor Doom's assistant that has like self-esteem problems.
Oh, I
Miles
see. Are you
Morales finally takes
picturing?
that leap of faith?
You're just picturing
form.
Barry at
Yeah.
this point, right?
It's actually like
All right.
nanobots. It's nanobots that come together. Dave Hader, Solid Snake. Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's a
No,
gaseous
but
form.
I said it's more like nanobots for sure. Okay, what's the song where Miles Morales finally takes that leap of faith? I don't remember the soundtrack. Andrew, you would know.
Sunflower?
No, it wouldn't be Sunflower, would it? I mean, I know it's in the film, but that wouldn't be. That's just the song he's listening to when he goes to school, right?
What's Up, Danger? That's what it is.
Yeah, that's a good moment. The other one I was gonna say is Thor on the bridge.
Yes.
That moment
with the lightning and the oh my god.
That is one of like the best musical moments in all Marvel films.
When he's
That
on the
moment
final
hits
level
so hard.
of Mario Kart. He's rocking that Rainbow Road.
Yeah, on Rainbow Road.
Lightning.
Yeah.
He's got the blue shell on Rainbow Road. That's what that is the equivalent of.
That moment is crazy. So what we should do, not now, but we should put together like our top 5 like Marvel musical moments. Yes, Immigrant song, exactly. That's the song that plays right there. We should put together our like top 5 Marvel musical moments. I think that would be a good top list. We should.
And we'll release that episode when Doomsday comes out, Avengers Doomsday 2026.
And Lauren will be on that. Ben Kingsley. Ooh. I think Ben Kingsley's a good one.
Ben Kingsley could still play him within the Marvel universe because he notoriously has played a person who isn't who he said he is, like within the Marvel universe. I assume there's going to be a Tom Holland, Robert Downey Jr. moment where he's like, Mr. Stark, and then like something bad's gonna happen. Like I assume that's just what's gonna happen.
Like he's like, you're about to not feel so good, and then he like kills him.
Yeah. And then he looks at the camera and goes,
yeah.
All right, everybody, we're gonna get out of here. We'll see you next week. Peace.
Bye. I have to come over.
I know you're dying to feed. I ain't no dancer. Just got some hip in my feet. Now throw your hands up. Ooh, you bring the lighter. I got the fuse. You make a fire. I'll add the fuel. Follow my lead.